The year was 2387, and humanity had spread across 12 star systems. Captain Jake Miller commanded the exploration vessel Star Walker as it drifted through the void near the edge of known space. His crew of 25 had been napping dead. Worlds for 6 months when they found something impossible. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Dr. Amy Rose, the ship's science officer. Her voice carried a tremor of excitement mixed with fear. The bridge fell silent as the main screen showed a massive structure floating in the darkness between 2 dying stars. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Earth's moon. The surface gleamed with a strange blue-white metal that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. "How old is it?" Jake asked, his weathered face showing concern. "Sir, the readings don't make sense," Amy replied, checking her instruments again. "The computer says it's at least 50,000 years old, maybe older." Engineer Tom Black whistled low. "That's impossible. Humans barely had fire 50,000 years ago." But as their ship drew closer, the truth became undeniable. Ancient human symbols covered the structure's surface, not the crude drawings of cave dwellers, but elegant script that somehow felt familiar to everyone who looked at it. The writing seemed to glow brighter as the Star Walker approached. "Captain," whispered Navigator Lisa Gray, "something's happening." The massive structure began to hum, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the ship's hull and into the bones of every crew member. Lights began flickering along its surface in patterns that looked almost like a heartbeat. Jake ordered all stop, but it was too late. A gentle beam of energy reached out from the structure and held their ship in place, not threatening, but firm, like a parent's hand guiding a child. Then the voice came, not through their communication system, but directly into their minds. It spoke in perfect English, though somehow each crew member heard it in their own native language simultaneously. "Children of Earth, you have grown far from home. We have been waiting." The crew exchanged terrified glances. Jake found his voice first. "Who are you?" "We are what you will become. We are what you once were. We are the Guardians, the first. Humans to reach beyond the stars, placed here to watch and wait for our children to find us again." Dr. Rose's hands shook as she took readings. "Captain, the energy signatures. They're human. Definitely human, but enhanced somehow. There are life signs inside that structure. Thousands of them." The voice continued, warm but ancient. "Long ago, when humanity first learned to touch the void between worlds, we discovered we were not alone. Great darkness moved between the stars, beings of pure malice that consumed entire civilizations. We made ourselves guardians, enhanced our bodies and minds, and took on the duty to protect the younger races." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What happened to Earth? To our history? We erased ourselves from memory to protect you. If the Shadow Devourers knew that Earth's children carried the potential for guardianship, they would have destroyed your world before you could even stand upright. We have been fighting them in the deep void for 50 millennia, keeping them from the settled worlds." The structure's lights pulsed brighter, and suddenly the Star Walker's computers came alive with new information. Star charts showing vast regions of space marked as battlegrounds. Images of creatures made of living darkness consuming entire solar systems. And most chilling of all, warnings that the enemy was moving toward the core worlds again. "Why now?" Lisa asked. "Why reveal yourselves to us?" The ancient guardian's mental voice grew heavy with exhaustion. "Because we grow weary, young ones. 50,000 years of endless war have taken their toll. Our numbers dwindle, and the enemy grows stronger. The time has come to awaken new guardians." Tom stepped forward, his engineer's mind working. "You want us to join you? To become like you?" "Not all, but some. Those with the strength of will and purity of heart to carry the burden." The galaxy needs protectors, and humanity has always been the best at standing guard over those who cannot protect themselves. Jake looked around at his crew. Their faces showed fear, yes, but also determination. These were explorers, risk-takers, people who had left everything behind to push into unknown space. The same spirit that had driven ancient humans to cross oceans and climb mountains. "What do we need to do?" he asked. "Choose wisely, Captain. Some of you will return to warn your people. Others will stay and begin the transformation." The shadow. Devourers are already moving toward your colonies. Humanity's children have perhaps 10 years before the darkness reaches them. The structure's hangar bays began to open, revealing docking ports sized perfectly for human ships. An invitation and a challenge rolled into one. Jake Miller took a deep breath and made the decision that would change humanity's destiny forever. 3 weeks had passed since the Star Walker docked with the Guardian station. Captain Jake Miller stood in what the ancients called the preparation chamber, watching half his crew undergo changes that defied everything he thought he knew about human biology. Dr. Amy Rose had volunteered first, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Now she floated in a pod filled with shimmering liquid, her body surrounded by threads of energy that rewrote her genetic code. Her hair had turned silver white, and her eyes glowed with a soft blue light. "The process is remarkable," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics that resonated strangely. "I can feel my consciousness expanding. It's like suddenly being able to see colors that never existed before." Engineer Tom Black emerged from his own transformation pod, flexing hands that now crackled with controlled energy. His skin had taken on a metallic sheen, and when he concentrated, Jake could see data streams flowing across his pupils. "The technical knowledge they're sharing," Tom said in wonder. "I understand technologies that won't be invented for thousands of years. Captain, these Guardians aren't just enhanced humans. They're what we could become if we had unlimited time and resources." The eldest Guardian, who called himself simply First, materialized beside them. His form was barely recognizable as human anymore, tall and ethereal, composed more of energy than flesh, yet unmistakably carrying the essence of humanity. "Your species has a unique gift," First explained. "Other races, when they gain great power, become distant from their origins. Humans remember. You carry the heart of the cave dweller even when you touch the stars. This is why you make the best guardians." Jake watched navigator Lisa Gray step into her transformation pod. She had hesitated the longest, torn between duty and fear. Will they still be human when this is over? "More human than they have ever been," First replied. "The enhancement reveals what was always within your species. Your capacity for sacrifice, your protective instincts, your stubborn refusal to give up when others depend on you." Through the station's vast windows, Jake could see the rest of his crew preparing the Starwalker for its return journey. They would carry word back to human space, warning the colonies of what was coming. But some would stay here, beginning the long process of becoming something more. A new alarm sounded through the station, not urgent, but purposeful. First's expression grew serious. "They come sooner than expected. The shadow devourers have found this station." The transformed crew members moved with inhuman grace toward the control centers. Amy's enhanced mind interfaced directly with the station's sensors, her consciousness merging with technology in ways that should have been impossible. 12 ships, she reported, her voice now carrying multiple tones. "They're not like anything in our databases. The computer calls them Void Hunters, the scouts of the Shadow Devourers." Through the viewing ports, Jake saw shapes approaching that hurt to look at directly. They weren't built so much as grown organic curves that bent. Light around them, creating patches of absolute darkness in space. "Your first lesson begins now," First said to the transforming humans. "Tom, can you feel the station's weapon systems?" Tom nodded, his enhanced awareness spreading through the ancient technology. It's incredible. These weapons don't just destroy matter, they unravel the fundamental forces that hold the enemy together. The Void Hunters opened fire first, lances of pure darkness that seemed to devour the light around them. But the Guardian Station responded with beams of brilliant energy that carved through space like swords of creation itself. Lisa, halfway through her transformation, gasped as her emerging abilities let her perceive the battle on multiple dimensions. They're not just attacking us physically. They're trying to drain something else, something deeper. Life force, First explained calmly while coordinating the defense. The shadow devourers consume the essence of living things. They turn entire civilizations into empty husks. This is why guardians were necessary. We learned to shield our life force while striking at theirs. The battle was brief but intense. Ancient guardian weapons, powered by 50,000 years of accumulated knowledge, tore through the Void Hunters like paper. But Jake noticed that first and the other ancient guardians seemed dimmer afterward, their energy forms flickering. Each battle costs us more than we can afford, First admitted. This is why we need you. Fresh strength, new perspectives, the raw determination that only comes from having something precious to protect. Amy stepped out of her pod, her transformation complete. She looked at her hands, still recognizably human, but now glowing with inner light. When do we begin training for real combat? First smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both ancient weariness and renewed hope. Now, young guardian, your people have 10 years at most. We must prepare you to save not just humanity, but all the living worlds they would devour. 6 months of intensive training had passed aboard the Guardian Station. The transformed humans no longer resembled their former selves, yet something essentially human remained in each of them. Perhaps even stronger than before, Dr. Amy Rose had become the group's tactical coordinator, her enhanced mind capable of processing battlefield information from across multiple star systems simultaneously. Her silver hair now moved as if underwater, responding to energy currents invisible to normal humans. Engineer Tom Black had merged so completely with Guardian technology that he could repair and improve systems just by touching them. His body had become a living conduit for the ancient energies that powered their weapons and defenses. Navigator Lisa Gray discovered she could perceive space-time itself as a navigable dimension. She moved through the training chambers like liquid light, appearing and disappearing at will, making her the perfect scout and infiltrator. But today's test would be different. Today, they would face real shadow devourers for the first time. The colony on Kepler 442b has gone silent, First announced to the assembled new Guardians. Population, 40,000 human settlers. Last transmission indicated unknown ships in their system. Jake Miller, who had chosen to remain unenhanced to serve as liaison with regular humanity, felt his blood run cold. Kepler 442b was his daughter's. Home she had married a terraforming engineer and moved there 3 years ago. How long since their last transmission? Amy asked, her voice now carrying harmonics that could interface directly with the station's computers. 72 hours. Guardian protocol assumes colony loss after 48 hours of silence when shadow devourers are involved. Lisa phased into visibility beside First. Then we're already too late to save them? Perhaps. But shadow devourers don't simply destroy, they consume slowly, drawing out the life force over days or weeks. There may still be survivors in hiding. Tom's metallic fingers danced over control surfaces that materialized at his touch. I'm reading 12 new Guardian ships coming online. Fast attack vessels designed for hit-and-run tactics. The ships were beautiful and terrifying sleek forms that looked grown rather than built, their hulls pulsing with the same blue-white energy as the Guardian station. Each was small enough to be crewed by a single enhanced human, but packed with enough firepower to level the moon. Remember, first cautioned as they prepared for departure, shadow devourers are not simply aliens with advanced technology. They are entropy-made conscious beings that exist to unmake creation itself. They cannot be reasoned with, only destroyed or driven back. Amy took command of the lead ship, her consciousness merging with its systems as soon as she stepped aboard. The vessel responded to her thoughts, becoming an extension of her enhanced body and mind. The journey to Kepler 442b took 3 days at Guardian speeds faster than any human technology could achieve. As they dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge, the devastation was immediately apparent. "The outer planets are gone," Lisa reported, her enhanced senses probing the system. "Not destroyed, consumed. I can see traces of where they used to be, but it's like the space itself has been emptied." Tom's readings were even more disturbing. The star itself is dimmer. They're feeding on the fusion reaction, drawing energy directly from the stellar core. As they approached Kepler 442b, they found something that chilled even their enhanced hearts. The planet still existed, but its surface crawled with darkness-living shadows that moved across continents like oil spreading over water. "Life signs," Amy announced suddenly. "Faint, but definite. Underground complexes, probably mining tunnels. Maybe 1,000 survivors." 3 massive shadow devour ships orbited the planet organic nightmares that seemed to bend space around them. But these were not the small scouts they had faced before. These were harvesters, designed to drain entire worlds. "First contact protocol," Amy decided. "Lisa, can you get to the surface without being detected?" Lisa's form flickered and became translucent. "Already on my way. These things perceive life force, not matter. If I phase partially out of normal space, I should be invisible to them." The rescue mission began with surgical precision. Lisa located the survivors' human colonists who had taken shelter in the deepest mining complexes, protected by natural rock formations that seemed to interfere with the shadow devourers. Feeding process. But as Tom and Amy engaged the harvester ships in space, they quickly learned that all their training had only prepared them for the beginning of the real war. The shadow devourers fought with weapons that attacked on multiple levels: physical, mental, and spiritual. Their dark energy beams didn't just damage matter. They tried to corrupt the life force of everything they touched. "They're trying to turn us into them," Amy realized during the battle. "This is how they spread, by corrupting other life forms." The first real test of humanity's new guardians had begun, and the stakes were nothing less than the survival of all living things in the galaxy. The rescue at Kepler 442b had been successful, but costly. Of the 40,000 colonists, only 800 survivors remained. Worse, the shadow devourers had learned from the encounter and were adapting their tactics. Guardian Amy Rose stood in the station's war room. Her enhanced consciousness interfaced with intelligence networks across human space. The holographic display showed a spreading pattern of darkness. 17 more colonies had gone silent in the past month. "They're not just attacking randomly anymore," she reported to the assembled Guardians. "There's a pattern. They're targeting worlds with the highest concentrations of what they call bright souls, humans with strong life force signatures." Captain Jake Miller, still unenhanced but now serving as humanity's official liaison, studied the tactical displays with growing horror. "They're hunting our best people. Scientists, artists, teachers, medical workers." Tom Black materialized beside them, his form flickering with energy discharge from his latest engineering work. "It's worse than that. I've been analyzing the consumption patterns from the harvested worlds. They're not just feeding, they're learning." First appeared in the chamber, his ancient form more translucent than usual. The elder Guardian had been growing weaker with each battle, the accumulated strain of 50 millennia finally taking its toll. This was always their greatest weapon, First explained. The Shadow Devourers don't simply destroy civilizations. They absorb their knowledge, their culture, their very essence. Each world they consume makes them stronger and more cunning. Lisa Gray phased into view, her scout ship's data streaming directly into the station's computers through her enhanced neural interface. I've just returned from the Tau Ceti system. It's gone. All of it. Not just the colonies, the entire system has been consumed down to the asteroid belt. The implications hung in the air like a death sentence. Tau Ceti had been home to 12 million humans across 4 worlds and dozens of space habitats. How long do we have? Jake asked, though he dreaded the answer. Amy's silver hair flickered with data streams as she calculated. At their current rate of expansion and consumption, 18 months before they reach Earth itself. Maybe less if they continue to accelerate. The war room fell silent except for the hum of Guardian technology. Through the vast windows, they could see new ships being constructed, vessels that combined ancient Guardian wisdom with human innovation. But even with their enhanced abilities, the new Guardians numbered only in the hundreds, while human space contained billions of people. We need more Guardians, Tom stated the obvious. The enhancement process takes months, and we're losing worlds faster than we can train protectors. First's expression grew troubled. There is another way. A faster transformation process. But the cost, ... Tell us, Jake demanded. Whatever it is, we'll pay it. The emergency protocol creates Guardians in days instead of months. But only 1 in 10 humans survives the accelerated process. And those who do survive First paused, searching for the right words. They become more powerful than any Guardian in history, but they lose much of what makes them human. They become pure weapons, devoted entirely to the fight against darkness. The moral weight of the decision settled on everyone present. To save humanity, they might have to sacrifice their humanity. Lisa spoke first. How many volunteers would we need? To protect all human worlds? 10,000 minimum. That means calling for 100,000 volunteers, knowing we're condemning 90,000 to death. Amy turned to Jake. This has to be humanity's choice, not ours. We're already changed. We can't speak for those who are still fully human. Jake nodded slowly. As the elected representative of human space, the decision ultimately fell to him. But first, they needed to buy more time. What's our most defensible position? He asked. Tom brought up strategic displays. The core world's Earth, Mars, Alpha Centauri, and the inner colonies. If we fall back to a defensive perimeter around the original human settlements, we might be able to hold long enough to complete the emergency transformations. That means abandoning the outer colonies, Lisa pointed out. 2 billion people, who are already dead if we can't stop the Shadow Devourers. Amy replied grimly. First raised his hand for attention. There is one more thing you must know. The Shadow Devourers are not acting randomly. They are being directed by something we call the consuming mind, an intelligence so vast and ancient that it has been devouring galaxies since before your son was born. Jake felt the universe suddenly seem much smaller and more fragile. You mean this isn't just about our galaxy? No, young human. This is about the survival of consciousness itself in this universe. The Shadow Devourers are the consuming mind's attempt to reduce all existence to a state of perfect entropy. No life, no thought, no hope, just endless, empty darkness. The true scope of their war had finally been revealed, and humanity had become the universe's last hope. 1 year after the first Guardian awakening, humanity faced its darkest hour. The Shadow Devourers had consumed half of human space, their dark tide sweeping inexorably toward Earth itself. In the depths of space around Sol System, the final battle was about to begin. Guardian Amy Rose commanded the last Guardian Fleet to 100 enhanced humans piloting ships that blazed like newborn stars against the cosmic darkness. Behind them, Earth's combined military forces had assembled every vessel they could muster, but conventional weapons were nearly useless against an enemy that consumed energy and matter alike. The emergency transformation protocol had been implemented across the remaining human worlds. Of the 2 million volunteers who had stepped forward, only 200,000 survived the accelerated enhancement process. They now stood as humanity's final Guardians, beings of incredible power, who retained just enough humanity to remember what they fought to protect. Captain Jake Miller, now enhanced by necessity rather than choice, felt the weight of command settle on his transformed shoulders. His daughter had been among the volunteers from Kepler 442b's survivors. She had not survived the process. Their coming, Navigator Lisa Gray announced, her consciousness spread across multiple dimensions of space-time. The consuming mind itself leads them. I can see it, a thing older than galaxies, made of pure hunger and malice. Through the viewing screens of the command ship, the enemy fleet became visible. It defied description, not ships in any conventional sense, but manifestations of cosmic entropy itself. Darkness given form and purpose, reaching out with tendrils that made space itself seem to wither and die. Engineer Tom Black's form had become almost entirely energy after his emergency enhancement, but his voice still carried recognizable human determination. Guardian stations report ready. All defensive systems online. If we can't stop them here, there won't be another chance. The ancient Guardian first appeared one final time, his form now so faint it was barely visible. 50,000. Years of continuous war had finally exhausted even his enhanced existence. My young friends, he said, his mental voice carrying the weight of ages, you face something that destroyed my entire civilization, consumed 1,000 other species, and has been the ending of stories since time began. But you carry something none of them possessed. What's that? Jake asked, watching as Earth's moon-sized Guardian stations powered up weapons that could crack planets. Hope that refuses to die. Stubborn human hope that says not today to the ending of all things. The battle began not with explosions, but with the sound of reality tearing. The Shadow Devourer's weapons attacked the fundamental forces that held matter together, while Guardian technology responded with energies that reinforced the fabric of existence itself. Amy coordinated the defense, her enhanced consciousness touching the minds of every human defender. Remember, they feed on despair and fear. Hold on to who you are, what you're fighting for. Don't let them consume your hope. Wave after wave of shadow ships broke against the Guardian defenses. Tom's engineered weapons carved through enemy formations like swords of light, while Lisa phased Guardian strike teams directly into the heart of enemy formations. But for every shadow ship destroyed, 3 more emerged from the darkness. A consuming mind had brought the accumulated might of 1,000 consumed galaxies to bear on this one small system. We're losing, Jake reported as another Guardian station went dark. They're adapting faster than we can respond. That was when Amy had a realization that changed everything. They're not adapting, they're learning. Learning from us, from our tactics, our technology. But that means they're still learning, Lisa finished, which means we can teach them something they don't expect. The plan was desperate and beautiful in its simplicity. Instead of fighting the Shadow Devourer's corruption, the Guardians would embrace it, but on their own terms. They would let the enemy partially consume them, then use that connection to inject something the consuming mind had never encountered: unconditional human love and sacrifice. One by one, the enhanced humans opened their minds to the shadow, letting the darkness flow into them, but holding fast to their core humanity. The effect rippled through the enemy fleet like a shock wave. For the first time in cosmic ages, the consuming mind experienced doubt, compassion, and hope. The concepts burned through its ancient consciousness like acid, revealing something it had forgotten in its eons of hunger. It had once been alive, once been capable of creation rather than destruction. The shadow devourer's attack faltered, then stopped entirely. Across space, the darkness began to withdraw, not in defeat but in confusion. For the first time in universal history, they had encountered prey that fought back not with violence, but with transformation. Amy smiled as she felt her consciousness expand beyond anything she had imagined possible. We didn't destroy them. We reminded them what they used to be. The war was over, but humanity's role as guardians of consciousness itself had just begun. In teaching their enemies to remember love, they had saved not just their galaxy, but the very concept of hope in the universe. Somewhere in deep space, ancient darkness contemplated the strange gift it had been given, and slowly, impossibly, began to remember how to create instead of consume.